Hey everyone, welcome back to DCC Workbench for part 4 of the Santa Fe Locomotive upgrade. In this episode, we're moving on to wire management. With the addition of all these wires, there's a wrinkle to deal with. The last thing we want is for... No, I didn't mean you. Not this time. Really, Canopy? Contractually? So, you're still working with your legal team made of glue sticks and Katy springs. I know, you're to appear anytime wrinkle-related topics are discussed. Page 7, subsection, textual emergencies. Yeah, I read the paperwork on the website. Canopy, I have to get back to the video. We'll just discuss this later. Folks, we'll cover issues of not doing the wire management wrinkle later on in the video. Let's go ahead and jump into part 4. So, speed matching. Did you know that... Yes, this segment is about wire management, but wire management also affects speed matching. I was just getting ready. Canopy insists that I take a moment to go over what wire management is first, before we get into the nuts and bolts. Wire management is the process of organizing and securing and routing all those electrical wires to minimize the risk of damage. It can prevent issues like overheating and shorts and tangling. Plus, it makes all of our hard work look nice. Can I get back to the video now? How we install these small wires that can be smaller than a human hair can create intermittent issues. I make a living solving technical problems, and I'll tell you, intermittent issues are the most difficult to fix. An issue will show up, then disappear, rinse, repeat, wasting gobs of time waiting for the problem to come back. And it's not just the intermittent issues. There are 3 decoder and motor killers when it comes to bad wire management. The first one, bunched up wires. They trap heat and shorten the lifespan of components and delicate connections. The second is vibration-induced shorts. Over time, as a locomotive runs, these vibrations cause wires to detach and cause micro short circuits. And the third, squished shorts. Wires that put pressure on electrical joints and the components. If just 2 of these contacts touch, when they shouldn't, that causes damage that Canopy can't even fix. So that leads me to ask you, have you ever had an issue with speed matching? Yep, all 3 play a significant role. Remember, electrical signals have flow and pressure. Also, resistance restricts. Also, microbursts affect not only jolts of energy, but also create bad spots in motors. I have troubleshot many locomotives with these issues. If you're interested in a much more comprehensive explanation for the X and O's regarding speed matching, hit that notification bell so you don't miss it. I go over all of this with much more detail from a technical perspective. So all of this is why I say, technically speaking, is the most important technical part of this entire build. This isn't just for the new wires we're adding, this also improves the factory wires that came with the locomotive. I'm going to be trimming the factory wires to the proper length, eliminating heat traps, and removing shell snag. If you care to share your wire management process, drop your thoughts in the comments. To get started on the shell wire management, I need to install the wire routing. I'm going to use a section of 2mm heat shrink tubing. And a little, have you guessed it? All I need is a small drop on a toothpick. From here, I'll dab in a corner section of the shell. Here, I'll make sure that the glue goes beyond the width of the heat shrink tube. Since the placement of the tube is in a tough spot to film, I'm going to zip past showing the actual gluing, but I'll give you a close-up of the finished result so you can see exactly how it sits. Now I'm going to scope out the routing plan for the next few heat shrink pieces. The wire path will start at the section we just glued, making a gentle curve across the top of the fan section and follow that all the way down toward the middle of the shell. Here I'm going to cut another piece of 2mm heat shrink tube, plop my fancy glue station down, dab some, I'm not mentioning the name, test my tweezers for sticking, and take that piece of heat shrink and give it a good rolling around. You know, this is exactly what Canopy Glue lives for, right now in this moment. Living the dream. And as I set that piece down inside the shell and play with it for a few moments, I figure out pretty quickly that the piece is too big. So, doing a recut on that piece of heat shrink tube, I notice I'm getting some glue on my rail cutters. Man, hope I can get that stuff off later. This stuff looks pretty ultra permanent. Give it a little roll in the glue, and I really hope this glue's machine washable. I just want to note, I don't think you'll have all these issues that I'm having. Gluing is usually straightforward for me, but with filming, I'm much further away from my piece than normal. And I'm new at making videos, so clearly I'm not going to be making any kind of Hollywood blockbuster soon. Now I can clip my next section of tubing. I give it a good roll back and forth. I'm going to try to apply this on the first try. And, yep, this time it worked. Do a little adjustment and wait for it to set. Now I'll grab another 2mm piece of heat shrink tube. This time, just a little bit bigger piece. And I'll roll it around and get some more glue. Give it another good dab. Squish it, roll it around, squish it again, and then I'll put the glue past the bottom of the contact area. Now this will serve as a binder for when I follow up with a second and a third coat of glue later. Another great filming angle. You have to be smarter than the objects you're working with. Let me reposition and wrestle with it for a minute or two. And as you can see, the glue starts to set fast. So the tube is starting to stick, making it easier to set in the final position. Cutting to the final placement, now that I have all the rear and the top tubes set, this is what the final tube install looks like. We're in business. A very nice route that our wires can use. A nice, humongous bundle of mess. I've seen electrocuted hair that looks better than this. Unfortunately, hairspray is not going to help with this masterpiece. I'm going to start by grouping and separating the wires. It looks worse than it actually is. After some grouping and separating, I can see where to split the wires into two groups. I'm going to grab a 1mm heat shrink tube, give you a good visual of it, and drop it, pick it up and drop it again, and try to be clever to hold it up to the rear wall so I can estimate the length I will need for the downward route. Then I will use the same state-of-the-art method to measure the length of tube for the top of the shell. I'll grab my track cutters. Oh, thankfully we're lucky. The glue from before, it did come off. Barely. I had to use a very teeny tiny amount of water. I'll go ahead and make my first cut. And then my second cut to use as wire routing for each side of the wall. I just wonder how we'll get these pieces to stick to that wall. I don't know. I guess we can figure that out later. Let me know if you have any ideas while I do a little cleanup on my fancy glue station. So about that sticking to the wall thing, I have an idea. So do you think... Canopy, I never said wrinkle. What are you doing here? Are you sure you're strong enough to hold it from vibration detachment? You know this is a chemical bond, right? Okay, since you've been working out, I trust you. What's with the cape anyways? Never mind. I'm gonna just hold you to it. Let's get those wall tubes installed. I'm gonna size up the tube length so I can make my cut. Length can vary. Just make sure the length is about half the length of the wall. I did use my track cutters to make these cuts. I was a bad boy. I hope the track cutter authorities don't hunt me down, 'cause I'm guilty as charged. I know, they're only supposed to be used for track. Or is that nickel silver? Or is brass part of that? Or something? I don't know. Remember folks, model railroad rules are meant to be broken. With the first tube in, I'll grab the second tube and break the law by cutting it with track cutters. And I'll film it. I'm a rebel. I'll get some help from Canopy and stick the tube on the other side of the wall. I'll make sure that both tubes are lined up and sticking well. And that's it. Like Vader said, all too easy. Note the location and the size. I'll follow this up with 3 glue cycles to build up the surface and area adhesion. We're on the home stretch for wire management. We're going to fix the wire droop in the see-through grill. Let's start with a 2mm piece of heat shrink tube. Cut it to size and check the fit against the grill. And that looks good. Now I'll set down that fancy glue station and get Canopy some more action. Canopy will show that heat shrink who's boss. Now I'll place the tube above the grill. Notice that both ends of the tube is past the circumference of the white plastic piece. I'll keep making small adjustments until I start noticing Canopy doing the python grab on the tube. At that point, I'll just back away slowly and let it set. Canopy knows when it's time. Lastly, I'll grab the second piece of tubing. Let Canopy take care of my light work. As I place the tube in the shell, I adjust the placement until it's parallel to the other tube. Perfect. Off camera, I'll foul this up with 3 more applications of Canopy glue to build up the surface area and the strength. Here, you can see what the final result looks like. Now that the 2 wire sag grill tubes are in place, I went ahead and ran the cab wires off camera just to save you a few minutes of watching me feed tiny wires. Deciding which wires to route through which tubes, that's really your preference. I chose to group the ground and the stair lights in one tube and the ditch and headlights in the other. That'll make things a lot easier for me when I start the testing part of the series. Alright, let's recap today's progress. Those messy wires that could shorten the life of this unit, gone. Wire sag, bye bye. In part 5, I'll mount the rear step lights, remove the factory tape that sets my nerves off, install the speaker, and as much as I don't want to, ask Canopy for some more help. I just hope the cape comes off by then. Anyways, for those of you enjoying the series and haven't subscribed yet, and if you're looking past Canopy's sense of flair, please subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video. It really does help the channel. Part 5 is right around the corner. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy railroading.